It's official, everybody. Jordan Peele has not made a bad film. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. I am Pragmatic Addict, and this is going to be my review of Jordan Peele's newest film, Nope. So I had a lot of thoughts about this movie. Whoa, a lot. So first off, Nope was my most anticipated film of this entire year, and Jordan Peele is also one of my favorite directors. I thought Get Out was a fantastic film, and Us was great. They're two of my favorite horror films. And from the trailers and promotion and hype, if you will add, leading up to this film, there was a lot of mixed and scared, expectations. And a lot of it was coming from the second trailer more so than anything. It did kind of take like a more comedic approach, where this first trailer, was kind of displaying something a lot different in light. And when the first reviews actually came out for this film, I was even hearing that it wasn't even a horror film, which is another thing that I will get into, is, how would I label this film? So, without further ado, guys, let's get into my review of Nope. Also, just really quickly, we didn't get the Halloween Ends trailer before this movie. Can you believe it? I know, fucking crazy. So at the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to a family that lives on a ranch that train horses for movies, played by Keke Palmer, Daniel Kaluuya, and Keith David. I will also note that the film does take place in the early 2000s, at least when it starts off. There are flip phones present, as well as some movies that are in production that this family is working under. And the film's main centerpiece begins when the father of this family, when something happens to him, as we are shown in the trailers. And during this area of the film, I do want to note that immediately, oh my god, Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer, man. I wanted to know more than anything immediately how good Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer play these siblings. They did so well in every way in this movie, as actors, as siblings, even as individual people. Keke Palmer has the more comedic approach of this movie, where Daniel Kaluuya's character brings the more seriousness of the film. And obviously these siblings are, affected by the grief of, what happened with their father. And going back to these characters, these siblings, you really can feel the two grieving on their own as individual people. And again, that family and sibling dynamic just felt so fucking true and so honest and natural. And I loved every second of it. And what I really want to note about Kaluuya's performance specifically is that on paper, it looks like he's doing very little, but for the tone of his character, you almost forget that he's acting. And again, not only as, characters, but as siblings, their characters felt so on key and so humane. And as we start to progress through this film now, one thing that I was really glad that I caught was that this film did have a lot going on in the background. There are things that are foreshadowed. There's a lot of symbolism that we've, kind of come to expect out of, Jordan Peele's films up to this point. It is, and it did feel like a very layered film. And again, just as a Jordan Peele, movie fan, it does have those kind of, again, layers and tones. Now, when the film really gets going in the sense of where its actual centerpiece, as far as like its attraction for the audience, what we're all here to see, when that focus of the movie comes into play, and not even that, but just the feel as well, and also its introduction and tension, it's brought in such a cinematic and grand way that the only way I could describe it was, shit's about to go down. Oh fuck. And basically where this film's main plot centers on is basically one night something is seen in the sky and weird shit starts going on in the area. So this brother and sister decide to put up some surveillance shit, and eventually things only get worse and stranger, and they eventually recruit the help of a man who is said to capture the impossible cinematically to attempt at getting footage of this. And another thing I want to address about the film is that it is divided into, I wouldn't necessarily say chapters per se, but it is divided into different segments, I guess, that each seem to have a certain theme to them and are all cryptically titled. And again, it is just one of those things that adds to, again, the deeper roots of this film, the layers that make this your typical Jordan Peele puzzle of a film. Now, going back a little bit earlier to what I was saying about where the film's main focus is, how everyone and everything kind of comes together as we start getting a little bit further into this, that specific area of the film doesn't feel as strong. And I would even say that, like, certain reactions to this situation don't feel as proper or as on point as they should be. And I would also even argue that while the story itself is interesting, with it being set in this kind of, like, modern day area, like, more than anything, I don't feel like the film really benefits fully in that setting. Again, like, I understand, you know, why it's set in this setting to a degree. There are certain things that are addressed and certain things that happen where it's like, well, it kind of needs to be in this setting more or less. I feel like it would have been a little bit more, I guess, developed better and could have been a little bit more, like, I guess, like, intimate of a actual film. If it was set earlier on in the early 2000s, that would have been a great kind of, like, time to go back to and see how this kind of thing could have taken place and, you know, what they would have actually done in making this film in that setting. I just feel like that would have been really fucking cool. But in saying that, while modern day is the main setting for this film, the film does jump back and forth between different timelines as well as different stories to kind of connect things a little bit further in its overall execution. And with saying that, you know, yeah, this does make this film that much more interesting and also that much more mysterious. And I'll be honest with you, now going back a while we were talking about, you know, is this more a horror film? I would say it is more of a science fiction horror film, but hear me out. It is not as exciting, and it is the most lacking of Peele's films to date. But in saying that, this does have some stuff that I would actually call the most horrifying that we've gotten in a Peele film yet. Now, getting to the final act of the film, I would argue that this is more like the more sloppier kind of area of the film, and that the finale isn't actually all that grand. Also, something very interesting is that this doesn't really feel like a film when you actually, you know, experience it. This doesn't actually feel like a film that needed to be so tight-lipped and so kept under wraps. People are like, you know, going through, you know, the next fucking level to, you know, not spoil this thing like it's fucking Spider-Man No Way Home. And I'm just gonna tell you, I didn't really see a twist or something that was overall climatic to me as far as like an actual execution goes. I will say that, you know, more or less the film does, you know, go a lot further than what the trailers display. But in saying that, yes, you know, like we are used to, you know, as far as Get Out and Us goes with, you know, their executions, you know, as films, this film does not nearly or maybe even really have that epic of a conclusion or finale to it, which I found really disappointing. And as far as the film's runtime goes, it didn't feel that long. Like, it is clocking in at almost 2.5 hours, but the film does well, and, you know, I think that Jordan Peele knew that for a film like this type of film, and this hyped of a film, that anything shorter than the 2-hour mark would have probably come off a little bit worrisome. So I think that, you know, while the film does fine with its runtime, it didn't need to be that long at all. And my last thing I want to say mostly about this film that is probably my biggest criticism is that a lot of things that earlier on in the film that were the most intriguing or, you know, most dark or most like horrifying or cryptic, when you look back at it, those don't feel as connected or really even as necessary as they should have or as you wish they would have been, which is a bummer because a lot of these things, again, they are, you know, at least earlier on, the most interesting and horrifying and cryptic things about the movie. And at the end of it, you're just kind of left like, wow, for a man like Jordan Peele with a film like this, these could have gone to some genuinely fucking, like, groundbreaking routes. And it just makes you, like, a little bit disappointed in how relevant and climatic the film really could have been. But in saying this, guys, I will say that while this is Jordan Peele's weakest film and most lacking and, I guess, least exciting film in the overall grand scheme to date, the man still has yet to make a bad film. And I'm going to give Nope at least a 5.3 or higher out of 10, with an overall positive review. So guys, that is going to do it for my review of Nope. Let me know what you guys thought about this review as well as the movie down below. Again, for a film that was my most anticipated out of the entire year, I am not going to say that it was the best of the year, but I did enjoy it. It is a good movie, and again, while I don't think it's nearly as strong as Us or Get Out, I'm definitely adding it to my Jordan Peele collection. Yes, guys, that is going to do it for my review. Check back tomorrow. I will have a review of Marcel the Shell with Shoes On because it's finally out in my city. Woo! Yes, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Let me know what you thought about it as well as the movie down below, and I will see you in the next one, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a safe night. Take care.